Hello, and welcome to The Art of the Chart. I'm Kim, evolutionary astrologer and artist, and I'm really glad you're here. Today we're going to be talking about the moon in astrology as it relates to your birth chart. We'll explore its core meaning, its impact, and some essentials on how it expresses itself through each of the 12 zodiac signs. If this kind of content speaks to you, I'd love for you to subscribe and stay connected. And if something resonates as you're listening, feel free to like or share your thoughts in the comments. It truly helps this work reach more people. All right, let's begin. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." We spend a lot of time trying to understand who we are. But there's another question just as important. What do you need to feel safe enough to be who you are? That's the moon. In astrology, the moon is often described as emotions, moods, feelings. And yes, it is that. But the moon goes way deeper. It represents your inward, subjective reality, your inner experience of life, as opposed to what's happening on the outside. And here's something important. If we could average your mood over a lifetime, we would have a very clear picture of your moon. Not just how you feel today, but the emotional tone you return to again and again. The moon is your inner world, your emotional baseline, your instinctive responses, your way of interpreting reality. Because here's the truth. A large part of what you think you're seeing out there is actually coming from in here, from your emotional filters, your expectations, your past experiences. So when we understand your moon, we understand something essential, your assumptions about life itself. Is the world safe? Is it unpredictable? Is it nurturing? Is it something you have to defend yourself against? That's all lunar. The moon is also instinctive. It's not rational. It lives in the body. In fact, symbolically, it's connected to the right brain, the intuitive, feeling side of your experience. This is not the part of you that analyzes. It's the part that feels first, the part that reacts, the part that senses, the part that knows without needing to explain why. When you are truly intimate with someone, you reveal your moon, not your performance, not your identity, your real emotional self, your needs, your sensitivities, your patterns. This is why the moon is so connected to home, to domestic life, to what happens behind closed doors. It reflects the parts of you that must be seen, fed, and respected if you're going to experience real closeness, real ease, real belonging, especially in the spaces where you live your daily life. The moon is also connected to the mother archetype. Sometimes this reflects your experiences of your actual mother, but more importantly, it reflects how you mother yourself. How you care for your inner state, how you respond when you're overwhelmed, when you're tired, when you're hurting. This is your inner caretaker, your inner healer, what we might call your mother moon. Because here's something we don't always acknowledge. Life is not easy. It can be exhausting, overwhelming, even battering. And no one is made of steel, which means Rest, healing, recovery are not luxuries, they are necessities. And taking care of those needs, that is the job of the moon. The moon keeps you soft, open, loving, human. Without it, you harden, you disconnect, you can burn out. The moon is also deeply patterned. It shows what feels familiar, and familiar is not always the same as nourishing. Much of your moon operates automatically. It's your reflex. So when something emotional happens, you don't think first, you react, you withdraw, or you reach, or defend, or caretake, or shut down. And the work here is not to judge that. It's to become aware of it. Because once you see it, you have a choice. When your moon is supported, you feel steady inside. Not perfect, but resourced. You can feel your feelings without being overwhelmed by them. You can rest, you can recover, you can trust your instincts. You can be close to others without losing yourself. There's a sense of inner belonging, like, I'm okay here, in my own life, in my own body. But when the moon is not supported, things become reactive because the moon is not rational. It runs on instinct. And when it's overwhelmed, you see patterns like overreaction, defensiveness, withdrawal, neediness, emotional overwhelm, or numbness. Sometimes it looks like clinging. Sometimes it looks like shutting down. Sometimes it looks like staying in what's familiar, even when it hurts. Because even pain can feel safer than the unknown. When the moon is activated, life becomes more emotional, more sensitive, more immediate, more real. Something inside you is being touched. And these are often the moments where you're invited to feel what you've been avoiding, to acknowledge what you need, to soften, to come back into relationship with your inner life. So how do you work with your moon? Start with this. What do I actually need to feel okay? Not what sounds good, not what you've been told you should need. What do you need? And be honest. Then ask, what do I do when I don't get those needs met? Because that's where your patterns live. And when you see them, you can begin to care for yourself differently. The moon is not just your emotions. It's your inner climate, your sense of belonging, your way of being human. It is the part of you that must be nourished if your life is going to feel livable. Your moon is not weakness. It is your sensitivity, your instinct, your emotional truth, your capacity to heal, to rest, to connect. And the more you honor it, the more your life begins to feel like home. Now let's look at how the moon shows up in each of the zodiac signs, because each one reveals something different about what it takes to feel safe, to feel nourished, and to truly belong. Moon in Aries. With the moon in Aries, your heart is learning courage. You need movement, challenge, aliveness. You don't feel nourished in stillness. You feel nourished when life is happening. Emotionally, there's urgency. intensity, a kind of fire. You bond through teasing, honesty, directness. But the shadow can be anger, resentment, reactivity. So your path is to learn how to feel without exploding and how to stay present inside intensity. Moon in Taurus. With the moon in Taurus, your heart is learning peace. You need calm, beauty, stability, the natural world. Your emotional body moves slowly. You bond through touch, presence, consistency. Your home needs to feel safe, predictable, grounded. But the shadow can be rigidity, resistance to change. So your path is to learn how to stay open even when things shift. Moon in Gemini. With the moon in Gemini, your heart is learning curiosity. You need conversation, ideas, movement, stimulation. You process emotions through thinking and speaking. You bond through words, shared perception, storytelling. Your inner world is busy. But the shadow is distraction, superficiality, never going deep enough. Your path is to learn how to stay with a feeling long enough to truly understand it. Moon in Cancer. With the moon in Cancer, your heart is learning how to heal. You need emotional safety, familiarity, intimacy, home. You feel everything deeply. You bond through nurturing, care, emotional presence. But the shadow can be fear, defensiveness, withdrawing into your shell. So your path is to learn how to stay open without losing yourself. Moon in Leo. With the moon in Leo, your heart is learning self-expression. You need to be seen, to be appreciated, to create. You feel nourished when someone truly sees you. You bond through warmth, praise, playfulness. But the shadow is insecurity disguised as ego. So your path is to learn how to shine without needing constant validation. Moon in Virgo. With the moon in Virgo, your heart is learning discernment. You need clarity, purpose, growth, meaningful work. You feel safe when life is improving. You bond through helping, service, thoughtful attention. But the shadow is self-criticism, never feeling enough. Your path is to learn how to accept yourself while still evolving. Moon in Libra. With the moon in Libra, your heart is learning trust and harmony. You need connection, beauty, balance. You feel nourished through relationship. You bond through attentiveness, presence, emotional attunement. But the shadow can be people-pleasing, indecision, losing yourself. Your path is to learn how to stay connected without abandoning yourself. Moon in Scorpio. With the moon in Scorpio, your heart is learning emotional truth. You need depth, honesty, transformation. Surface level connection doesn't work for you. You bond through vulnerability, intensity, truth. But the shadow is fear, control, emotional heaviness. Your path is to learn how to trust without needing to control. Moon in Sagittarius. With the moon in Sagittarius, your heart is learning faith. You need meaning, growth, expansion. You feel nourished when life feels like an adventure. You bond through humor, generosity, shared vision. But the shadow can be avoidance or a know-it-all attitude. Your path is to learn how to stay present even when things feel uncertain. Moon in Capricorn. With the moon in Capricorn, your heart is learning strength and integrity. You need purpose, structure, mastery. You feel safe when you are building something real. You bond through real reliability, action, commitment. But the shadow can be emotional suppression, loneliness, control. So your path is to learn how to feel without losing your inner strength. Moon in Aquarius. With the moon in Aquarius, your heart is learning freedom. You need independence, authenticity, space. You process emotions through perspective. You bond through ideas, acceptance, allowing difference. But the shadow can be detachment, distance, emotional coolness. Your path is to learn how to stay connected without losing your individuality. Moon in Pisces. With the moon in Pisces, your heart is learning surrender. You need stillness, imagination, connection to something greater. You feel everything, sometimes beyond words. You bond through empathy, presence, shared emotional space. But the shadow can be escapism, confusion, overwhelm. Your path is to learn how to stay grounded while remaining open. Your moon is your emotional blueprint. It shows you how to care for yourself, how to love others, how to feel at home in your life. So instead of asking, why am I like this? Ask, what is my moon trying to teach me? Because when you understand your moon, you don't just manage your emotions. You begin to honor them.